Bro, this fucking shit's kind of sad because there's no fucking opening song. Fun stream, Bob. Hey, thank you. Maybe we'll play some Croc tomorrow, but we'll see. All right. This is like the most ridiculous fucking whiplash from playing T-Rex to fucking whatever the fuck this is. Even I was appalled at how insincere my apology was. Chia probably felt the same way, but she at least appreciated the words. That was a little quiet. Satoko's own apology was no less disingenuous than mine. I glared straight into Satoko's eyes, warning her never to bother me again. But Satoko was in a rebellious phase. It would take more than that to make her wince. She returned my glare in kind, as if to say she'd get me back next time. She sighed, unable to do much about her insincere apologies. And then the bell signaling the end of lunch break rang. Hold up, chat. I need to order dinner. Should we get chips and guacamole? Of course. The classic chip and guac? That sounds good. I do think so. Okay, boom, boom. Chips and guacamole. Alright, there we go. Boom. Where's your iron source? I'm a vampire. At night, I just go out and suck some people. Okay. That's... yeah, their blood. Their blood. We suck their blood. Not whatever you're thinking. Alright, there we go. Suck what? Their blood. Satoko-san, let's go back to the classroom. Cherry followed Satoko and left the nurse's office. I didn't give them so much as a glance and just held my right arm out to Yamamoto. You guys ever wonder? There's that Key and Peele skit how that like modern vampire is always like confused as to why the fucking vampires are all sexual and shit for no reason. Like that is a good question. Like why do vampires always get characterized as like some weird like sex demons? You know? Like why can't they just be like normal people that want just some blood, right? Once in a while. Like, it's just like very odd. Who started that thing? The stinging pain of the disinfectant was somehow weak. The hand receiving the treatment. Nah, we gotta watch the skit. Alright, alright. Brief sidetrack here. Brief sidetrack. It's a great fucking skit. Wouldn't you have pent up tension after being asleep for so long? What do you mean? Bro, I swear to God, man, there's gotta be someone out there that like specifically just designed vampires to just be overly sexual for no reason. Good fob link? Hey, Key and Peele links are always good, alright? The stinging pain of the disinfectant was somehow weak. The hand receiving treatment didn't even feel like my hand. I suppose it wouldn't. It's Rika Frude's hand, not mine. What kind of vampire media are you watching, bro? Bro, it's literally all vampire media, I feel like. Even, like, Blade. Like, they're fucking sexualization stuff there, you know? Yeah, it's literally all of them, except, like, if you watch, like... ones like I guess there's like the more recent like Dracula stuff, like some of the more really modern stuff. I'm about to link you Fat Vampire from Blade again. Turn the game a bit, like 10%. Okay.
君もだろ？
別にそういうわけじゃない。
住み慣れた故郷が湖底に沈むんだ。悲しくないわけがないよ。君たちの気持ちもよくわかるさ。
Maybe she needs to stop the fucking flood or the dam construction. That would be crazy. That must have been Yamamoto's interpretation of the strained atmosphere in the classroom. If he was convinced of that, then maybe it was fine. It didn't matter to me.
君だってちょっと前までは友達がいっぱいいた。でもたまたま君と特に仲がいい友達がみんな揃って転校しちゃったんだよな。君が突然一人ぼっちになってしまった。
Even Dracula had sexual themes, did it? Nosferatu. I might not have watched that one.
仲の良かった友達。
ほら、富田君や岡村君たちさ。いっつも仲良しの男子たちと一緒にいたじゃないか。
Oh.
君はこう一点で随分可愛がられていたと思うけど。
She has her own friend group here. I see. Even Rika Furude had friends for a while in this world. And thanks to a stroke of bad luck, they all transferred out together and left her behind.
でも、友達は彼らだけじゃないんじゃないかね。寂しい気持ちもわかるし、来年までの仲かもしれないけど、クラスの他の子とも友達になって楽しくやっていった方が君にとってもいいんじゃないかい？
別に親しくなりたくなんかないし、私の本当の友達はあなたの言う通り遠くへ、とてもとても遠くへね。私はそこへ帰りたいだけ。
リカちゃんはいつからそんな大人びた話し方をするようになったのかね？
うん、まあ気分です。
先日君がボールを頭にぶつけて気絶した一件以来心配してるんだよ。
I didn't know how close this Yamamoto man was to Rika Furude, nor how much of her he knew. But judging from his words, he seemed to be the kind of adult who understood children's feelings, just like Ide in the previous
あの
world.
ボールが当たった時、多分フルでリカは死んだと思うんです。
あれくらいで死んでたらドッジボールもできないよ。じゃああれで死んでたんなら君は亡者ということなのかね？
Yamamoto laughed a little, but not completely to tease me. It was just to urge me further along. Ah, so Yamamoto wasn't just a doctor at the nurse's office, but a mental counselor for students at a susceptible age. It looked like he wasn't Ide's replacement for nothing. For some reason, I felt like opening up a little to him. Maybe it was because he didn't exist in the world I knew. Right now, everyone who was in the world I knew, no matter who it was, made me uncomfortable. That was why I felt like opening up specifically to someone who wasn't in that world. After all, Yamamoto probably thought I was just a girl hitting puberty. Whatever nonsense I spouted, he would nod and agree.
私、山本たちの知ってるフルでリカじゃないんです。
それはどういうことだね？じゃあ君は誰なのかな？
とりあえずベルンカステルって名乗ることにしました。フルでリカって名乗ったらこの体の本来の持ち主に悪いので。
ベルン？横文字かい？まるで宇宙人みたいだね。君はどこから来たんだい？
別の世界からです。例えるならイフの世界。同じひなみ沢だけど歴史や成り立ちが全く違う世界。この世界ではダム計画が決定して村人の立ち退きが決まっているけれど、ダム計画に村人が結束して立ち上がり計画を、そしてダム計画は無期限に凍結された。そういう世界から来ました。
では君の来たひなみ沢はダム湖には沈まないわけか。
What if this is the actual world that Rika was in this whole time and all 8 chapters of Higurashi were just her knocked out?
そうです。昭和58年の後も
Oh
ずっと
my
のど
god.
かな生活が続いていきます。
いいひなみ沢だね。わしもこの土地をとても気に入っているから、立ち退きは本当は心苦しい。だから君の来たという世界のひなみ沢に憧れるよ。その世界のひなみ沢をもう少しわしに教えてくれんかね。
The first step in counseling was to agree to whatever absurd story the patient came out with. If I didn't know that piece of trivia, I might have teared up at Yamamoto telling me to continue. But I couldn't resist the temptation to keep going. He encouraged me and I kept talking. In that world, there was a big protest movement we called the Dam Conflict, and it took years for them to withdraw the proposal. And through that conflict, the villagers came together. Everyone got along. All the students were friends. And we even had transfer students come in from outside of the village. And we made a club where we would play games with Mion as the president. And while Satoko was very unfortunate, she was good friends with me. And then...
さとこちゃんがかわいそうだな。なんでさとこちゃんが村中からいじめられなくちゃいけないんだい？みんな幸せな世界なんだから。さとこちゃんにも意地悪しないで幸せの輪に入れてあげなよ。
She should mention Hinamizawa syndrome.
別に意地悪で言ってるわけじゃないわ。私の世界ではそうというだけの話よ。それにこの世界の里子よりは辛い運命をたどるかもしれないけど、その里だからこの世界の里子の顔が余計に腹が立つの。
その君の
She said
本
it
当
before?
の親友と同じ顔で
I guess she
君
did,
に意地
yeah.
悪をするのが許せない？
She was just asking if the doctor knew about it.
そう。
Yamamoto heaved a heavy sigh, then stared out the window with his arms folded. It looked like the rain outside had let up somewhat, but it was still drizzling. After keeping his silence for a few moments, Yamamoto spoke up.
つまりここは君の世界
Hey, it's guilty! Thank you for the 13 months! Welcome back! Thank you. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday night.
そうです。私は元の世界に帰らなければならない。ここは私の世界じゃないんですから。
確かにそんな楽しいひなみ沢なら一刻も早く元の世界に帰りたいよな。でも帰る方法はあるのかね？
あります。でも探すのはとても大変です。
ほう。
She said it's a
そりゃ
marvelous
どん
Sunday
な
night.
方法だい？
Any night I'm playing Higurashi is a marvelous night. That's why once we finish this game, chat, I'm executing the emergency manual.
多分このひなみ沢のどこか
In
に
Minecraft.
かけらが落ちています。そのかけらのせいで私を元の世界に戻す力を持ったいえ、お社様がこの世界へ来られないのです。
お社様って古出神社に祀られてるあの神様のお社様？
説明すると長いですが、そんなところです。私は彼女と一緒にあまたの世界を巡ってきました。この世界はその結果に漂着した世界の一つでしかありません。
Yo, there's no shot. My food's here already. Yo, that was fucking speed run. Hold up. That was like 15 minutes. What do you think you're doing? What do you think you're doing? You think you're getting any? You're not getting any. What do you want? What do you want, little fatty? Huh? What do you want? Aigo. Okay. Alright. Down you go. Down you go. You're not getting any food. You need to lose 2 pounds, buddy. You're fat. Hoarding food from your dog now? No. Dude, he is officially obese. He is 1.9 pounds overweight. So Lily and I are severely diminishing his treats.
だから彼女が来てくれれば
Same with you? No,
す
I'm
ぐに
not.
でも出ていくつもり。
急に話が大きくなったね。つまり君はお社様と一緒にこの世界へ来たわけだ。ところが君をこの世界から連れ出せるお社様がどういうわけかこの世界に入れない。つまり君は船が漂流してしまって取り残されたようなものということかね。
平たく言うとそういうことです。
I think this doctor is smarter than EDA.
彼女をこちらに呼びたくても彼女を阻害するかけらがこのひなみ沢のどこかにある。それを見つけ出して焼いてしまわないと
How so?
私は元の世
EDA
界
is
に
like
帰れ
bad
ない。
on the pickup. He likes, you know, he panics. This doctor's like pretty quick on his feet.
そのかけらというのはどこにあるんだい？
どこかにあるの。かけらは重い。だからそれが宿る何か、どんな形をしているものに宿っているのかわからないし、宿っているのがものという保証もない。人間に宿っているのかもしれない。何もわからないんです。
Yeah, I like EDA too.
君は物だったら焼くと言ったね。人だったらどうするんだい？
羽生は人の場合なら殺すことで同じ意味を持つと言ってる。
Rika, you should not be telling the doctor that you might have to kill someone.
かけらを宿すのが人間でないことを祈ってるわ。
その羽生というのは誰だい？新しい登場人物だね。
ああ、お社様の別名よ。むしろ羽生が本名。お社様なんて名前は後世の村人の誰かがつけた適当な名前じゃない？
なるほど。それが君の読んでいた本に書いてあったのかな？
別にそういうわけじゃないわ。
Yamamoto's arms remained folded and he groaned in thought. Now the silence settled, with the rain being the only audible sound. Maybe I'd gotten nervous. I knew it wouldn't solve anything to talk about it, but I did anyway. Yamamoto was probably wondering if something was wrong with my brain. I could guess that by looking at his complicated expression.
そのかけらは見つかりそうかい？
わからないわ。羽生に干渉する力なのだから、お社様にゆかりのある何かにヒントがあるんじゃないかと思って探し物のヒントを探してる。そんな状態ね。
そうか。見つかるといいね。でもそれが人だったら君はどうするんだい？まさか本当に殺しちゃう気なのかね？
そういう風に聞かれると返答に困るけど、それしか元の世界に戻る方法がないなら、私どうせ私の世界から見ればこの世界は妄想や白チュームと同じ。誰が死んだって私の世界では生きてるし関係ないもの。
なるほどなるほど。でもちょっと待ちなさい。君にとってこの世界は夢の中なのかもしれないが、わしにとたとえ誰であっても殺されちゃ困る。
理屈は分かってるし、私も人殺しなんてせずに帰れるならそれに越したことはないわ。
話題を戻そう。君に元の世界への帰り方を教えてくれるその羽生はどうやって君にそれを伝えるんだい？
Through a magical crystal ball.
お告げみたいなものがあるのかい？それとも夢枕に立つ？
そんな曖昧なものじゃない。会話するのよ。ある水晶玉が羽生と私の通信機の役目を果たすの。
I low-key feel like she should not say all these things. Like this doctor, if he's a really concerned doctor, he'll go to her parents and tell them everything she's said.
わしもその羽生と話すことはできるかね？
That would be the fastest way. If he could talk to Hanyu directly, that would be enough to prove my nonsense true. The fuck you want? But I felt uneasy. Even if I could talk to her, Yamamoto might not be able to. Those kind of magic items come up pretty often in stories. But maybe it was worth a shot and trying. I took the crystal ball out of my pocket.
そのビー玉が通信機かい？
やっぱりそう思うわよね。私もビー玉だと思ったわ。
Alright, let's see if it works. The crystal ball's light was extremely weak. As it got dimmer, it was also taking longer to restore lately. After talking to her several days ago and the light weakened again, it was having a hard time recovering. As much light wasn't quite enough. It looked like it needed a little more time to recover.
このビー玉に光が宿ってるのがわかる？
どうだろう。光の反射じゃないかい？でも綺麗なビー玉だね。ラムネ瓶の玉かい？
とんでもない。フルデ神社の至宝、カムのなんたらとかいうありがたい宝だそうよ。ラムネ瓶の玉に見えるって点では悪いけど私も同感ね。
フルデ神社の。これでどうやって羽生と会話を？
私は機体に当てるようにするわ。すると声が聞こえるの。
Yamamoto immediately tried. He shut his eyes and let out a low groan. It probably wouldn't work. I couldn't tell if it was because it wasn't me or because the power was too weak.
申し訳ないが、わしには聞こえんな。君はどうだね？
羽生と話すにはある程度の力が回復してないといけない。貸して。私でもダメね。まだ回復しきっていない水晶玉では羽生の声を聞くことができないわ。
I pushed it tightly against my forehead, but all I felt was a cold sensation. I couldn't feel the power in it.
そうか、それは残念だな。
日数を重ねると多少は力が回復するようなの。時間をもらえればきっとまた会話ができるようになるわ。その時もう一度試してもらえれば。
そうかい。じゃあもし会話ができるようになったらぜひわしにも会話をさせてくれないかね。
Hello? Well, chat. Breaking news. They just found the corpse of Rika Frude in, okay.
ええ、もちろんよ。このままじゃ頭が変になったおかしなことを思われて終わりだもの。 その失礼な誤解を解かなくちゃ後味が悪いわ。
その水晶玉の神通力はどのくらいの時間を待てば回復するんだい？
もう少しだと思う。もう一晩も待てばひょっとすると大丈夫。力が戻ったらあなたに教えるわ。
ありがとう。待ってるよ。もし羽生と話をさせてくれたら、わしも君が元の世界へ帰れるように協力しようじゃないか。どうだね？
本当に？
Simple word help made a deep impression on my mind. If someone other than Hanyu were around to understand me, it would obviously be a reassurance. And with two people, the time it would take to go through the piles of literature would be halved. I'd welcomed the help of a cat at this point, so I was really glad. On the other hand, I had to think about what Yamamoto felt. For Yamamoto right now is a dangerous person who says she might even commit murder over delusion. He was only speaking to me in such an understanding way to keep communication going. That didn't mean he actually believed me. But if Hanyu and Yamamoto could talk, it would clear all those fears away, and then he'd have to believe in the supernatural phenomena of Hanyu and me. But the real world didn't usually work out that well. After all, even if I made Hanyu talk to him, it could end in the way it always does, with Yamamoto not hearing anything. I could convey what she was saying, but he wouldn't believe it. But that didn't mean I had the option of not trying. I wouldn't give up before doing it. I'd try everything. Wasn't that the lesson I'd learned from this 100-year journey?
約束よ。ちゃんと羽生と話ができたら信じて。会う会うしか言わない。およそ神様っぽくないやつだけどね。
約束するよ。羽生と話をさせてくれたら君の話を信じよう。でももし羽生と話ができなかったらどうする？
I actually think he replied like that. It confused me.
どうするって言われても。
君が勝ったら君の話を信じる約束になってる。じゃあわしが勝ったら君がわしの話を信じるという約束にしないかな。どうだね？
山本の何の話を信じろと。
Well, I could imagine it without having to ask. He'd probably tell me to go to a largest hospital and have my head given a proper look at. Of course, there's absolutely nothing wrong with my head, so it would come up with 0 results. When that happened, maybe they'd say I needed to take care of my mind and give me psychotropic drugs or something. I heard this from Rena once before. There's a drug that makes you incredibly lethargic, unable to do or even think anything at all. Dangerous patients think terrible things and sometimes actually do them. The drug stopped that from happening. If they made me take that, it would be the same as killing me. It might seem like a fair condition, but it looked to me like the scales weren't in my favor to begin with. I shouldn't have told this stuff to a man I barely knew. After all that, I began to regret my decision. Could I fool him if I said it was all a joke? Did you believe me? Nipa? If that was going to be my last resort, I could use it if my attempt to have Yamamoto and Hanyu communicate failed. I couldn't abandon the possibility that Yamamoto could be my ally without trying first.
じゃあ明日はちゃんとリカちゃんのために予定を空けておこう。
Oink.
それでいいかい？
He didn't tell his story. He made a suggestion, taking a notebook out of his coat and going over his other appointments. I nodded and I said I agreed. Oh boy. She's got a fucking shrink appointment now.
Rika-chan. ちょっといいかい?
After school, as I was about to head home before the rain started up, Satoshi called out to me. I looked up and saw Mion and Reina with him. I'd been stopped by the upperclassmen brigade. Their expressions weren't exactly gentle ones, and I suspected I was in for some sort of punishment after what I did during lunch break.
何かご用なのですか?
少しお話ししたいなって思って。
お昼休みのことなのですか?
それもあるし、
さとこをお椅子で叩いたりとかしてごめんなさいなのです。
I spoke the words fine, but didn't bother to hide my glum attitude.
怖がらないでよ、リカちゃん。 別に私たちはリカちゃんを叱ろうとかそういうつもりで呼び止めたんじゃないんだよ。
Yo, can we go back to the chapters when these guys make scary faces? I miss that.
ならどうして呼び止めたのですか？
まあ単刀直入に言うとさ、みんなで仲良くなるためにどうしたらいいだろうねって相談だよ。たださ、一応理解してほしいんだよね。今の現状を招いたのはリカちゃんにも多少の責任があるってこと。
ミオン、そんなことを今わざわざ言わなくても。
こういうのを教えてあげるのも上級生の役割だと思うけどな。違う？
もう。
This conversation didn't look like it would be a fun one. If I blew them off, it would probably only get worse, so I decided to just pretend I was listening. Reina took my silence for me being dispirited, and she started speaking in a much more lighthearted tone.
リカちゃんだってみんなとお友達で楽しく遊べたら素敵だって思うでしょ。それでね、みんなでね、仲良く遊べるようにはどうすればいいのか私たち考えたの。なんだと思うかな？わかりませんです。
リカちゃんは知らないと思うけど、ミオンってね、いろんなゲームを持ってるんだよ。
Oh my god, they're making a club.
まあ昔の趣味だけどね。小さい頃にどういうわけかボードゲームとかカードゲームをすごく集めてた時期があってね。最近は全然興味ないんだけど、まあ捨てるわけじゃなし、大量に在庫があったりするわけよ。
楽しそうなゲームがいっぱいあるのに全然遊んでなくて埃をかぶってるなんてもったいないよね。私あの泥棒役がサングラスかけて遊ぶイギリスの泥棒ゲームやってみたいな。
僕は木の枝をどんどんつなげていくあの積み木みたいなゲームをやってみたいよ。
どのマニュアルも英語なんだけどな。シオンの野郎がそういうののマニュアルを読むのだけは得意だったっけ。シオンに聞けば早いけど学園行っちゃったからな。
ならみんなで読んで理解しようよ。それもきっと楽しいよ。
そうだね。みんなで同じルールでゲームするなら、たとえ間違ってても公平だしね。
ね、楽しそうでしょ。放課後にみんなで集まってゲームで遊ぶゲーム部って部活を始めようって思ってるの。ゲーム部、部活。
クラスの誰もが参加できるんだよ。そこでみんなで遊んでいるうちに、きっとリカちゃんもいつの間にかみんなの輪に溶け込んでると思うんだ。
クラスで一人だけ浮いちゃってるあんたを溶け込ませてあげようっていう上級生の心遣いってわけよ。
だからミオン、そういうことは言わなくても。
最近は少し気の毒な感じもしてきたけど、実際のとこ私は今のリカちゃんの孤立は多少自業自得なところもあったんじゃないか
God
と思ってる。
damn, Mion. My own fault? Reina and Satoshi fell silent after hearing that. I guess everyone in class shares Mion's opinion.
自得なのですか。
Of course, though this was about me, I had no idea what they meant by that. They were talking about the Rika Fruity before I came to me. She was the same as a stranger. But to them, it must have seemed like my surprised tone was just me not understanding because I was young. They sighed a little. It was an unpleasant sigh, like they were telling me to look at myself. I wanted to be freed from this as soon as possible.
まだみんなが引っ越してっちゃう前さ、リカちゃんってさ、お姫様だったよね。
お姫様ですか。
そう、お姫様。リカちゃんは男の子たちのグループの中で何でもチヤホヤしてもらえるお姫様だったよね。自分からは何もせず、常に彼らに何かをさせる。富田くんや岡村くん覚えてる？あの二人なんかは特にあんたが好きだったみたいだから、あんたが言うことは何でもしたよね。あんたはその上にあぐらをかいて涼しそうにしてるだけだった。そしてあんたに好意のある男の子たちを競わせるようなことをして、いっつも漁夫の利のような感じでちゃっかりとこうしてる。そんなのを不愉快に思ってる子も少なくなかったんだよ。だからそういう男の子たちが偶然にもみんな引っ越しちゃって、あんただけが取り残された時、ざまあ見ろって言ってる子もいたんだよ。
None of that was about me.
リカちゃん、君にしてる話だよ。みーちゃんの話。 聞いてあげて。聞いてますですよ。聞いてないよ。リカちゃんは自分とは関係ない話だと思ってる。そうでしょ？
Oh my god, Rena, mind reader. Why does it say Rena, by the way, instead of Reina? Whether Rena or Reina, she was still just as sharp about the weirdest things. I want to believe it was just a wild guess, but she had hit the nail right on the head.
レイナもよしなよ。リカちゃんはもうそれを十分反省したと思うよ。
どうかな。反省したとはまだ聞いてないし、その様子からだと私たちに言われるまで気づきもしなかったって風だよ。
だからよしなって。僕たちはリカちゃんをいじめたいわけじゃないんだ。本当の意味でリカちゃんと友達になりたいって思ってるんだよ。それには僕たちもリカちゃんもこれまでの関係を変えていく努力をしていかなくちゃならない。
For some reason, I was upset. Because it was as though they weren't talking about Rika Frude, but about me. Me, a princess. There was no guarantee I wasn't one until now. I loved the most of all club members, Rena and the boys in the class, pampering me, laughing at Satoko and Keiichi's failures as I coolly profited from the conflict. Without giving anything myself, I just greedily devoured the goodwill people poured upon me. They were right, that was me. I hadn't wanted to accept this sad, lonely world and set myself apart. But of course, they couldn't have actually been talking about me. So though I didn't know the reason, I was still upset.
部活にはね、サトコも加えようと思うんだ。サトコだって意地っ張りだから直接はなかなか言えないけど、リカちゃんと仲直りしたいって思ってるんだよ。
どう？ゲーム部の部活にリカちゃんも参加してみない？きっと楽しいと思うよ。
こんなあたりからでもさ、自分を変えようとってこと。
最初はギクシャクすることもあるかもしれない。
Maybe the feeling that's missing, the fragment, is friendship. Boom!
でもね、きっとそのうち仲良しになれると思うの。だって
Hopefully not.
みんなもリカちゃ
I
んと
feel
友
like it
達
is.
になりたいと思ってるし。
Because what was the message, you know, constantly that was sent out? Right? It's the power of friendship. And that you should trust and depend on your friends. But what's the one thing that's completely missing from this world? Rika has no fucking friends. She's completely alone. Friendless.
リカちゃんもみんなとお友達になりたいと思ってるなら、双方が手を伸ばし合ってるんだもん。届かないわけない。
もう僕たちは伸ばしてるんだよ。あとは
Nah,
リカちゃん
I
を
think
掴
I'm
む
on
だ
the
け。
fucking I think I'm on the money with that one. I felt like Keiichi said something a lot like that in some other world. Those words probably made Rika Frude really happy, but that wasn't me. All this only applied to the Rika Frude from before I possessed his body. For me, this world was fake, a dream world, and besides, I was in the middle of a hunt. I didn't have time to hang out with them. But they weren't faking their feelings for Rika Frude, and I found myself without an answer. At a loss for how to respond to them.
リカちゃん、ごめんね。実はさっきお手洗いに行くとき、保健室で山本先生としてる話、ちょっとだけ聞いちゃったの。
Oh. Reina gave me an apologetic look. I never thought others would be listening to that conversation, which must have sounded like garbled nonsense to anyone from this world. I'd understand if it's weirded them out and they didn't want to come near me, but I couldn't quite understand why it had resulted in this.
リカちゃんが言ってた世界ってみんなが仲良しのとっても楽しい世界なんだよね。リカちゃんはそこへ帰りたいって言ってたよね。だからね、私たち話し合ってリカちゃんがその世界に戻れる方法を考えたの。
と言ってももちろん引っ越しちゃった富田くんや岡村くんたちを呼び戻すわけじゃないけどね。
うん。元の世界へ戻ることって誰もが望むことだと思うけど。
That startled me. There was no way Reina knew about me and my old world. Even still, her words felt full of meaning and they echoed in my heart.
壊れたコップのかけらをどう未練がましく拾おうとしてもね、一度砕けちゃったものはもう戻らないの。でもね、コップは一つじゃない。壊れたコップは惜しいだろうけど、また探せばいいんだよ。でも砕けたコップのかけらを見つめてうなだれているうちは絶対に見つけられない。
つまりね、リカちゃん、引っ越してしまったリカちゃんの親しかった友達はもう呼び戻せないけど、ならそれに負けないくらいの友達をまた作ればいいんだよ。
きっとそうして作った世界はリカちゃんの元の世界に限りなく近い世界になると思うの。もちろん全く同じにはならない。でもね、それが一番元の世界に近づける方法だと思うな。
そうすることでさ、前よりも素敵な関係を築けるってことはあるよね。雨降って地面がなんとやらって言うでしょ。
どう、リカちゃん。僕たちもリカちゃんがみんなに早く馴染めるよう応援する。だから僕たちと一緒に頑張ってみないかな。
Those gentle words would have been tear-worthy if they'd been said to this world's Rika Frude. But now that I had possessed her, she was gone. The Rika Frude they were talking to was no longer of this world. I thought to myself that I should just give this body back to her. If I did, the me living in this remote parallel universe would have a chance to change her fate and make this world a happy one, if only little by little. If I went back to my old world and gave this leftover body back to Rika Frude, but I couldn't do that. Because for me to leave this world would require the same method as returning the fragment from this world to the world of the gods. In other words, my death. Only my death could make me go away. Which meant at the point I took over for Rika Frude, she was the same as dead. But maybe, just maybe, there was one way to return this body to Rika Frude. That would be for me to die a different way. I wasn't a parasite or anything. In difficult to understand terms, I was an individual personality aware of other universes. Or maybe I should call myself a memory aware of other universes. And that meant that if I could forget about the other worlds, that would represent the same thing as me dying. This world was the only world for Rika Frude, and she would live the best she could in it. If so, I would gradually forget, eventually losing my grasp on which world I had lived in, and try my hardest to live in the world I was in now. Which meant that giving up my previous world and living in this one was possible simply if I decided to do it. Like Reina said, it might be a different world than my old one, but it was the closest I could ever get. It might be a little different from my old world, but the club would still form. In exchange for Keiichi and half our classmates, Satoshi was here. I wasn't the best friends with Satoko, but depending on how we interacted in the future, we could at least become regular friends. Inumizawa would sink underwater in 6 months, but I could work hard to make new friends in my new home. That cruel destiny wasn't Rika Frude's alone. It was an impartial destiny shared equally by all who lived in this world. Only I had the luxury of being a special case and jumping between destinies at a whim. I didn't know. Which world should I devote myself to? Reina's words came back to me. A broken cup never went back to normal, and I couldn't find another one as long as I was lamenting the first. What did the cup represent? Cups were for filling with water. The water could probably be called happiness. The cup broke and the happiness inside was scattered everywhere. The cup was broken and I was at a loss, unable to fill it with happiness again. But if I could change the way I thought, and rather than be attached to the broken cup forever, fill a new cup with new happiness, it could open the door to a new world. Still, while that world might be similar, it wouldn't be the same. My heart had weakened and I've been discouraged. Wasn't this only so tempting because my search for the key to go back was so difficult? Before, didn't I swear I'd put in any effort I needed to return to my old world? If I broke that oath, Hanyu, gambling on my fate, would be left behind for all eternity alone. All alone, and I'd be the only one so selfishly happy. While I didn't have any responsibility to make Hanyu happy, she was my ally and my partner who stuck with me for hundreds of years. My friend. So even if I wanted to give in to the temptation, I'd have to ask Hanyu, which meant right now I had no right to answer the proposal.
本当にありがとうです。とても嬉しく思いますのです。
大丈夫。 僕たちがきっと守ってあげるから。だからこの学校が廃校になっちゃうまでの時間。
いえ、少しだけ心の整理をしたいのです。
はあ？何を乙女チックなこと。別にサトシがあんたに告ったわけでもないでしょうが。
みーちゃん、余計なことは言わないの。私はリカちゃんの気持ちちょっぴりだけわかるよ。だからリカちゃんが心の整理をつける
Bro,
の。
Mion's a giga jackass in this world.
ありがとうです。もしお願いするときはどうかこのフルでリカをみんなの仲間に加えてやってくださいです。
I bowed apologetically. Here and now, that was the most I could do. After refusing their suggestion that we all go home together, I left on my own. It was Rika Frude's right, not mine, to enjoy going home with them. It wasn't something I, Frederica Berncastel, could accept. What was I, anyway? I wondered if another ball could fly into my head like before. That was how this world's Rika Frude was possessed by me. So if I got hit again, would I vanish and the pure Rika Frude would live, who lives in this world, return? If only I wasn't me, I wouldn't hesitate to take them up on their offer. This world truly was far sadder than the one I'd come from. But this world had something all its own, and the opportunity to become a happy world in its own right. If I hadn't known about the other worlds, I wouldn't have been able to contain tears of joy at the mere premonition of happiness I might once again attain. Were these conflicting emotions those of this world's Rika Frude sleeping inside of me? Those emotions made me angry, and I blamed myself, asking why I'd put their offer on hold and went home alone.
ただいま。
Ugh.
おかえりなさい。
My mother always immediately followed that up with, "Do you have homework?" but not
リ
today.
カ、台所にいらっしゃい。
Her voice was vaguely cheerful and light. I wonder what it was. Did she have a surprise to surprise me in a good way? But I couldn't remember today being special. Person's expectations sometimes come out in their voice. For the time being, it felt okay to go poke my head in. I set down my things and headed for the kitchen.
ふむふむ。
When I entered, my mother had already started on dinner despite it being so early. She was in a good mood. I wonder if something nice happened. Every year at this time, with the Watanagashi festival approaching, she usually got more and more impatient with all the preparation and setup. Knowing all that, my mother's good mood baffled me and confused me. I asked if she needed something. When I did, she suggested something I never heard even once in these hundreds of
お
years.
母さんと一緒に今日はカレーを作りましょうね。立派なのを作ってお父さんを驚かせちゃおう。
うん。
I didn't like curry that much, but before these 100 years, and meaning not me, but Rika Frude, I think she might have liked it. I knew at least that my mother was trying to make her daughter happy and suggesting she and Rika Frude, not I, make dinner together. I didn't like my mother that much. She was prone to hysterics, and I hated how she always sounded like she was hunting you down when she talked. When she treated me so nicely, my reason for disliking her felt irrational. Wondering why my mother had a change of heart, I decided to go along with it so as not to hurt her feelings.
じゃあ、じゃがいもの皮を剥きましょうか。包丁でできる？危ないから皮剥き器を使いなさい。
うん。
I was actually rather good with a knife. I was so good that when I peeled daikon radishes, I could make a long strip of skin at the same time I sliced them. But there was no reason to damage my mother's pride by showing that her daughter could use knives better than her. I decided to make her look good for now. My mother had probably been using knives for a decade now, but I had been using them for many decades. There was an order of magnitudes difference between us, so I wanted to be proud of using a knife better than my mother. I wanted to brag about it, but that might have trampled over her feelings, her want to teach her daughter how to use a knife. Parents are supposed to live longer than their children, so children respect the things their parents have learned from having lived longer than them. But witches like me live longer than their parents and learn many more things. Still, I think I probably never learned what I really needed to. I mean, as long as I genuinely listened to my mother, she'd never get hysterical. If I didn't feel like respecting her as my senior in life, she wouldn't feel like she needed to act as one either. In the end, all that was left was a cold, uncomfortable relationship between parent and child. If I had acted more like a daughter and pretended to be an ignorant child when I needed to be, maybe my relationship with her would have been more peaceful like this. Basically, she was Rika Frude's mother, not the mother of the witch who'd lived for 100 years. Thinking about it made it seem obvious she'd be cold to me.
ねえ、こうして煮えにくいものから順番にお鍋に入れていくのよ。
The hell, that's the same image they used for the shack where they kept the grandson.
玉ねぎは
玉ねぎは煮すぎると溶けちゃうから最後でいいのよ。リカが頑張って切った玉ねぎだもんね。きっと美味しくなるわよ。
My mother smiled. She seemed very happy. Her smile was warm. I thought I'd completely forgotten over these 100 years, but I remembered for less than a moment in time. My parents had to die in 1981. That fate was unchangeable. And besides, we could never get along in the first place, so it didn't matter if they died. As thoughts like those overlapped, maybe my concern with my parents had waned. Our hearts had steadily lost their connection, and the situation had steadily worsened. Before now, I hadn't thought I could gain anything from this world. Not once did I think it would make me realize something like that. With a mother like this, maybe spending time with her would be warm. It would be fun. That's right, the reason I rejected my mother's warmth. Maybe it was because I wanted to soften the sadness I felt at her death. If I couldn't change the fate she met in 1981, then she might as well hate me. Was that the idea at the root of it all? In this world, my mother hadn't died in 1981. She would stay here for a long time to come. I felt just a little jealous of Rika Furude, and I was stricken with the desire to return to this world's me to her. This world was so different than my previous one. Keiichi wasn't here. Shiono wasn't here. Hanyu wasn't here. But in exchange, Satoshi and my parents were here. There was no club, but there would be one soon. Satoko wasn't my best friend, but she could be in the future. I could weigh my previous world and this one on the scales, but I wouldn't know which one it would tip. Which way it would tip. I decided to leave this decision up to Hanyu. Yes, my destiny wasn't mine alone. It was Hanyu's destiny too. Whichever I chose, I would have to talk to Hanyu before making a final decision. The multiple world concept was something I only had because Hanyu had lent me her power. If Hanyu had never given it to me, it would have been over from the very start. Takano would have sliced open my belly and that would have been it. We put the lid on the curry, so now it was just had to simmer. My father returned in the meantime and really enjoyed seeing us make curry together. Then at my mother's suggestion, he set the table. In any normal 1981, he really hated it when my mother told him to do anything. But he wasn't trouble at all at the prospect in this world.
リカはみんなのお皿にご飯を盛り付けてちょうだい。できる？
できますです。
Of course I can do that, idiot. It's something I thought many times before, but this time I did it. Reuse asset. I opened the warm, steaming rice cooker and plated the rice. My mother brought the piping hot curry pot over and split it among everyone's plates.
おお、すごいね。リカが盛り付けたご飯に母さんが作ってくれたカレーか。美味しそうだ。
違うわよ。ね、カレーもリカと一緒に作ったのに。失礼なお父さんね。
I peeled myself back. Frude Rika shouted that I wasn't needed, so I pulled back. I withdrew inside Rika Frude, and she got to enjoy a family dinner from the bottom of her heart. When we saw the crooked potatoes, we all laughed pleasantly. I would never cut potatoes to be so ugly. But Rika Frude was still bad at this, so these things happened. When I used the same ingredients, the only thing curry tasted like was the curry powder from the store. After 100 years with the same curry powder, it tastes the same no matter how you made it, but this particular curry tasted different. I cried at what Rika Frude had lost. No, at what I had lost. Rika Frude got to experience the warmth she had once forgotten. I wondered if another ball would come flying and hit me in the head. Then I would pass out for a while, and upon waking again, I would be gone. Wasn't that the best possible happy ending? I was a stranger here. I thought this universe was a strange one from out of all the other parallel universes, but it was me. I was the stranger. Then what had the world been? The one I had reached after 100 years. Was its happiness that we all won? Keiichi, Rena, Mion, Satoko, Shion, and I? Was it all? It's all worth nothing? That wasn't true. It was a radiant world, one we'd all won the right to live in after 100 years of learning to trust in each other. It was replete with different kind of kindness than this one. Both shone brightly, and neither was better or worse than the other. Maybe in the end, most worlds were better or worse than any other. Weren't. I only lived in the extreme worlds, the ones where I struggled to see whether Takano killed me or not. So out of all the infinite universes, I'd started to think of them as either right or wrong. But the multiverse wasn't simple enough to think of it in binary like that. Tomorrow's dinner might be steak or salted sorry. It wasn't about which was right and which was wrong. In both of those worlds, I'd spend a happy time eating dinner with family. What if my respective selves had been reversed during tonight's dinner? But that was an incredibly tasteless thing to ask. The real problem wasn't that big to begin with. Neither my last world nor this world was better than the other. I needed to accept that. I still didn't know where the fragment I needed to return to my world was. But what if I never knew and the power of the crystal ball reconnected me to Hanyu disappeared? I would disappear like the stranger I was and give this body back to Rika Furude. From her point of view, she would have to say that I had returned to my old world, just as I once called this world a daydream for Rika Furude. My old world was the real daydream. Her strange illusions of me would simply disappear along with it. Maybe it didn't really matter, but how to return my original work, or that, my original world. Which world would I decide was the original? Maybe that was really all this was about. After we finished eating, we cleaned up our places and started washing things. My father said he had a meeting tonight and was about to leave
リカ
again.
ちょっと洗っててくれる？ちょっとお父さんにお話があるんで続きをやっててね。
はいですよ。
I responded cheerfully as Rika Furude, but I had realized something slightly out of place. If she had something to talk to my father about, there were plenty of chances during dinner, but she made me wash the dishes so they could talk amongst themselves. Rika just had to stay put and wash the dishes, but I couldn't suppress the curiosity that was welling up, and so snuck over to the front door to listen in on what my parents were saying. I bet the doctor told them. My mother was the one talking. Her tone of voice wasn't a cheery one.
それで山本先生が市内の大きな病院に相談してくれて
I
るらしいの。
fucking knew it. I told you guys he should not have fucking talked to the doctor. Why would you tell a doctor any of those things, man?
先生がおっしゃるには脳よりも心の方かもしれないって。立派な先生がいらっしゃる病院だそうなの。
I knew it. I knew I shouldn't have asked. Oh, Angie Rika. Yamamoto certainly hadn't promised to keep our discussion in the nurse's office to himself. As soon as I left, he probably called my parents and told them their daughter was ranting about nonsense. He probably explained it as my isolation at school wearing down on my mind and damaging my heart. Considering that what I told him, even that would be a conscientious
リカ
interpretation.
に直接話はしたのか？
後で話すつもり。明日突然先生が来て病院へ行きましょうじゃ騙してるみたいだもの。
What? Tomorrow?
でもね、あの子の気持ちを考えるとわかるの。仲の良かった友達だけが先に引っ越しちゃって一人残されて、その気持ちを汲み取ってやればよかったのに、リカは最初から引っ越ししたくないってずっと言ってた。その気持ちの整理も待たず一方的に押さえつけてしまって。
山本先生は明日の何時にいらっしゃるんだ？
夕方って言ってたけど、時間は聞かなかったわ。できたらお父さんもいてほしいって。
ああ、夕方は集会所にいるが、山本先生がいらっしゃったら呼んでくれ。
わかりました。
気を落とさずに。リカが元の世界に帰りたいと言い出す気持ちはよくわかるが、でももうどうしようもない。国と村とで決まってしまった話だ。ならせめてひなみ沢に住んでいたことを思い出すとき、楽しい思い出を真っ先に思い出せるようにしてやりたいな。
そうですね。
もう時間だから行くぞ。リカのこと頼む。
はい、いってらっしゃい。
Sunk back into the kitchen the same as I'd come, but I think the floorboards must have creaked. When my mother returned to the kitchen, she didn't sound particularly
聞
cheerful.
いてたの、リカ。今日ね、山本先生から電話をもらったわ。
We're getting lobotomized, boys.
リカが山本先生に相談した話のことを教えてもらったの。
みー、勝手におしゃべりするなんて山本はひどいやつなのです。
ごめんね。リカはずっとこの村に住んでいたかったのよね。その気持ちを考えず、だいぶ厳しい言葉をたくさんぶつけてしまった気がする。
いいのですよ。別にそんなことは気にしてませんです。
My mother's apology was meant to be heard by the Rika Fruity living in this world. It wasn't for me to accept, so I denied it. But my mother kept apologizing anyway. I was going to deny it again, but I stopped. It wasn't my turn. I should pull back. And then I thought I felt myself begin to fade out. As I did, I felt my eyes grow warm. The rest was, for me, a misty, hazy world. I cried as I buried my face in my mother's chest, and my mother cried as well as she hugged me. If I could have disappeared like that, this too might have been Rika Furude's life. After that, my mother told me a lot of stories of Hinamizawa as if to reminisce about her own childhood. About what she was like as a kid, of what she did and where. About things are happening or not happening. Oh boy. Mom, if you really liked me, you wouldn't send me to the fucking cuckoo house. As she talked, we comforted each other, both of us wanting our beloved village to stay in our hearts forever.
それでね、
I'm not
お
crying,
母
what
さ
the
んが
hell?
子供の頃はすっごく村のお年寄りに
I've
大事に
seen
してもら
this
った
shit
の。
before. This is when they send a kid to the fucking electroshock therapy and then they come back lobotomized. It's fucking over.
それはね、お母さんがお社様の生まれ変わりって信じられてたからなのよ。
お社様の生まれ変わりって？
Oh, so Rika wasn't in this timeline. She wasn't the fucking.
リカには話したことがなかったわね。古出家には古い言い伝えがあってね、第一子が8代続けて女の子だったらその子はお社様の生まれ変わりであるって言い伝え、それがね、お母さんなの。
私じゃなくて。
リカも女の子で第一子だけど9人目に当たるわね。
Oh my god, I haven't heard that music in a fucking minute.
うちは女系なのかしら。お母さんが8人目。お社様の生まれ変わりなの。でもこれは内緒よ。誰にも言ってはいけないことになってるの。だからこのことを知っているのは死んだおばあちゃんと私とお母さんとあなたとの秘密よ。
Kill your mother! Sometimes as proof of trust between girls, they reveal secrets to one another. For my mother, this was probably a trivial secret that she could use for that reason. But for me, it was different. Hanyu was first able to appear before the 8th of 8 consecutive generations of girls before Oya-Shiro-sama's reincarnation. But in this world, Rika Furude wasn't the 8th. She wasn't Oya-Shiro-sama's reincarnation. So, in this world, Hanyu couldn't appear before Rika Furude. And that was when, with my face buried in my mom's chest, I felt a warmth, no, a literal heat. She's the fragment! Bro, I just said it! She has to kill her fucking mother! Oh, nah, bro. What the hell? No. This felt the same as Hanyu's power. Well, this was a secret. With my grandmother dead, there was only one who knew my mother was Oyoshiro-sama's reincarnation. The woman herself. Which meant if my mother was gone, the fragment of there already being a reincarnation of Oyoshiro-sama in this world would disappear. My warm tears ceased to flow, and I felt my eyes drying up as I plummeted to the bottom of the abyss of despair. It was her. Mom had the fragment in her. If I could have, I would have chosen never to remember what that fact entailed. You said it was the feelings, bro? Okay, I just literally said she has to kill her mother. Right before that lore bomb. The 9th girl. What if... Ah, shit. What if she gave the crystal ball to her mother? Only half a day had passed, but maybe if I went to the storehouse, I'd get through. Hanyu once told me the old air from the past had remained in the storehouse and that she felt more comfortable there. Maybe that meant the storehouse was filled with Hanyu's power. In other words, while the crystal ball didn't have quite enough power, maybe being in the storehouse would help a little. Late that night, I slipped out of bed and snuck into the storehouse. I wanted nothing more than to talk to Hanyu. I went to the altar before the holy vessel and spoke into the crystal ball.
聞こえる？羽生。
The light in the ball was feeble, but its otherworldly glow was still clearly present. Please let her hear me. My wish was granted in a quiet voice, so low it might disappear at any moment. Spoke an answer.
聞こえますのですよ、リカ。羽生、よかった。聞いて。私。どうしていいかわかんないの。わかんない。
You know what to do, Rika. It's time. This wasn't time for crying. I needed to tell her everything I discovered and ask Hanyu's opinion. I quashed my frantic emotions and told her the fragment was in my mother. Hanyu stayed quiet for a few moments. She knew, of course, that I'd have to kill my mother to return the fragment to the world of the gods.
納得よね。あんたはお社様の生まれ変わりの前に姿を現す。この世界の私は8代目じゃないから9代目はダメってことなの。大昔のことです。私ですらほとんど忘れてしまった太古の昔。
It happened back when Hanyu was still living in Hinamizawa, before Hanyu became Oyoshiro-sama. It was how it all began, which Hanyu never told me about, no matter how much I asked her.
僕が、いえ、私が神になろうと決めたとき、私の娘、リカのご先祖は、私がそう決めたのが、人の世に絶望したからだと知っていたからです。
I took all the sins of the human world upon me. But there was no other way to cleanse those sins other than to destroy the sinners themselves. People were forcing their sins on each other an ugly existence. Their excessive cruelty caused me to lose hope in this world. I undertook all the sins of the human world and cleansed them by letting them kill me. I entrusted that final duty to my own daughter. I thought that unless I gave her that role, she would one day be despised as the daughter of a demon god and lose all hope in the human world herself. Oh, true. Hanyu's daughter was the one that killed her to start the whole Oyoshiro-sama thing. So it's like that. Rika has to kill her mother. My daughter didn't like that role, but she understood the weight of her mission, and in the end, she went through with it. But she said something to me. That she would change the human world in which only the price of life could purify its sins. Humans would combine their strength and help each other, cooperating with mutual benefit in mind. She swore to me that she would create this utopia which her mother had only dreamed of. Please, mother, do not lose hope in the world of man. I swear that I shall heal that sadness. But I would become a god. I couldn't accept my daughter's feelings. No, actually, that wasn't it. I had already lost hope in the corrupted world of man. I just didn't want to look at it anymore. But my daughter made a firm promise that she would remake that world into something better. Then I shall believe in what you feel. When in this land people live happily and one another, support one another, and think as one, I shall return to this land once more. My daughter killed me and took control of the village, the divine power of the demon god dwelling within her. Oh my god, is that the fucking Golden Gate Bridge? She became the leader and created doctrine so that everyone would trust in and help one another. Check phone? Oh. Chat. Alright. By making them fear a curse where discordant hearts would revive the specter of the demon god. Okay. She led them strictly, not letting my purification go to waste, so that this fucking emote. So that those purified sins would never again revisit the village. And so the village did regain a temporary peace, but I never descended to them again. I rejected the human world much too strongly. But no matter how strong the power to reject, it can never last forever. Whether hearts or walls or lids or doors, there is nothing that time will not decay. Even the power shutting me away from the human world wouldn't last forever. My daughter would learn the limits of that power through a revelation from a higher god than me. It was said that when eight generations of Furude bore girls as their first child, I would come again. The miracle of 8 consecutive firstborn girls would be the key that broke my power of rejection. My daughter left that legend to the Furude family, and it passed down to her descendants so that this land would continue becoming my ideal. Oh.
だからリカ、あなたが8人目として生まれた時、僕は人の世との接点を再び持てたのです。確かに大昔は人の世を嫌って無視していました。でも誰とも交流できない1000年は私の悲しみを癒してもなおあまりなる時間。いつしか私は誰とも交流できない世界に、むしろ悲しみすら覚えるようになりました。私が拒んだ私は人の世を浅はかな気持ちで嫌い、そして悟り始めた時、フルデ家に女子が続けて生まれ始めた。あなたの母が身ごもった時、それが女子であってほしいと私がどれだけ祈ったことか。でしょうね。私が最初に見た顔は母じゃなくてあんただった気がするもの。この1000年は人の世を見限った私に対する人は人の世に生きる。
そして生まれた世界に賢明でなくてはならない。それを軽んじ世界を容易に手放そうとする者は1000年にも及ぶ流罪に等しい罰を受けなければならないのかもしれません。
Anya's words were heavy. Maybe having been carefree in our walk between countless worlds, even comparing our own lives to dice rolls, we had been sinful.
私は1000年ぶりの友人であり娘であるあなたと人生を共にしました。そして昭和58年の袋小路にぶつかり私は再
Another
び
sin.
罪を犯しました。あなたの運命を変えるために力を使ったことです。
Okay.
私たちは一番最初のあの世界で高野に腹を裂かれて死ぬ運命を受け入れるべきだったと言いたいの？
理科には残酷でしょうが、今の僕にはそう思います。僕は僕の生きる世界をないがしろにした。そして理科の生きる世界までないがしろにしている。あなたと一緒の世界を懸命に生き、その最後を形に関わらず歓迎すべきであった。
やめて！あんたは自虐によって心地いいかもしれないけど私には不愉快だわ。あんな運命に屈服したくない。もっともっと素晴らしい人生のためにどこまでも戦っていこうって言ってあんたと100年にも及ぶ旅路を共にしたはず。その果てにそんなことを言い出すなんてめちゃくちゃだわ。そんなのはあんたの干渉よ。そうしてあんたは私と共に築いてきたこの100年とその果てに掴んだ世界もないがしろにしようというのね。勝手な話じゃない。
死にゆく獣を助けて越に浸るのは人の罪です。雪山は獣を殺し、その数を神に委ねます。
私が死ぬのも運命だったと今頃言い出すわけ？あんたどうかしてるわ。あんたがどう言おうと私たちの勝ち取った世界は汗の結晶のような世界よ。その輝きは私とあなたにしかわからないはず。そのあなたがあの世界を否定するの。
リカ、話を戻します。僕は8代目のあなたと一緒にこの世界を満喫したら、あなたの人生の終末と一緒に消え去るつもりでした。あなたが生きているうちには関係ないことだからあなたに話したことはありませんでした。その世界ではあなたの母が8代目、つまりすでに私は人の世と接点を持ち、素晴らしいひなみ沢に満足して、さらに上の世界へ消え去った後の世界なのです。私がもう消え去っている後の世界だから、そこに私は現れることができない。
So it wasn't a friendship thing, it's just a world where Oeshiro-sama does not actually exist at all. Even though Oeshiro-sama as a concept, like that belief exists, like Hanyu doesn't exist.
でもそこにあんたの世界のかけらが紛れてい
Hey,
た。
Bygone, thank you for that 59 months, goddamn!
そしてそれが母にあった。つまりこういうことでしょう。母が8代目であることを母しか知らない。それを殺せばあんたが現れることができないという矛盾の力が消える。正解？
そうです。本来ならリカのお母さんがその世界の8代目であることは歴然とした事実であり、お母さんを殺したからといって変わることではありません。ですが異なる世界から漂着したリカには、それは例えるなら船をつなぎ止めるもやいと同じ。その事実を知るのがお母さんだけで幸いでした。もし他にも大勢知る人がいたなら、 リカはその全員を殺さなければならなかった。リカは元の世界に戻るために母を殺すべきかこの世界にとどまるべきかを私に意見してもらいたかったのでしょう。
そうよ。
私もリカのいる世界かどういう世界かずっと調べていました。そしてそこがどういう世界なのかを理解し、やがてこの日が訪れることを予想していました。
She exists in a perfect Hinamizawa.
悩んだリカが私に相談することも、そしてその結果を受けて世界を選ぼうとすることも予想していました。だから悩みました。あなたをどう導くべきかを。神の世の言葉と違い、人の世の言葉は狭い。どう言葉を選んでも意味が偏る。あなたに本当の意味で選んでもらうためにはどう言葉をかけるべきか本当に悩みました。そして今も悩んでいます。なぜならあなたが私に答えを委ねているから。私がこっちの世界にせよと助言したならそちらを選ぶ気でいる。そのために払う代価の責任を私に転嫁しながら。それは卑劣なことだし、そんなことで選んだ人生に価値はない。あなたはあまたの世界を渡り歩き、人の世の外側に足跡を残した人間として責任ある選択をしなくてはならない。私に頼ることなく自分の力で。
言いたいことはわかるわ。あんたの言う通りにしたからこうなったなんて責任転嫁されたらたまらないもんね。自分の人生自分で決めろってことくらい理解できる。
伝えたかったのです。私はリカと人生を一緒にできて幸せでした。そしてあまたの世界を共にし、ひなみ沢が優しい助け合いに満ちていたことを知りました。私の欲しかった世界は全て満たされたのです。だからリカが私のいない世界を選び、僕がこのまま消えてしまっても幸せだと、それを伝えたかったのです。
ハニ
Hanyu had foreseen that this world would grow ever warmer for me. But Hanyu herself was in the opposition to this world. Any amount of discussing this with Hanyu, who was from the previous world, would only make it more difficult to forsake that one. She had even anticipated that after discussing with her, I would need to make a decision with an impartial viewpoint. That's why she said it. She wanted to accept whatever fate Rika Furude's decision gave her. She didn't want me to worry about her and live in the world that I liked the best.
仮にこの世界に生きることを選んだとして、あんたはどうなるの？
リカと僕の長い旅はその世界のルールで終焉します。つまりリカにはその世界での人生が、そして僕にはその世界ですでに終わってしまった事実が適用される。
つまりあんたは消えてしまうってことじゃない。
でもそれはとても心地よいことなのです。リカはそれを僕の死と考えるようですが、僕もその世界における自分は死んでいると最初はそう考えました。ですがその世界における羽生は消えてしまってはいますが、あなたのお母さんと人生を共にして楽しい時間を過ごした。お母さんはまだ生きていますが、その世界の僕は優しさに包まれながら二度と目覚めぬまどろみの中で楽しい夢を見続けているのです。その温かさと心地よさはきっとこの世に生まれ入れる前の母の体内にも似ている。それを知ってしまったから僕はリカがむしろその世界を受け入れた方がいいとすら思っていた。
あんた本気？
リカも1000年を生きてみればこの温かさを理解できるようになりますのですよ。
I could feel an ecstasy in Hanyu's words. Hanyu had lived for a millennium, and she understood that in a way I couldn't.
冗談じゃない。私は100歳程度の若造だから理解不能よ。
リカ、もういい加減に僕のことを理由に選択肢から逃れるのをやめにしませんか？
That was the truth. My old world and this one was being weighed on scales in my heart. It isn't tipping even slightly toward either side. Trying to shift the blame or responsibility for choosing onto Hanyu was just me being
リ
irresponsible.
カの選択の助けになるよ。私の知るその世界の蘇生をすべて話しましょう。
Whoa.
まず私たちに運命が打ち破れることを何度も教えてくれる前歯彼はこの世界では転校してきません。
とっくに知ってるわ。クラスにいなかった。
圭一は一時期受験勉強のストレスから心を病みますが、元の世界のようにおもちゃの鉄砲で人を撃つような真似はしなかった。より心を強くしてその誘惑に耐え、ついに心の弱みを克服します。今の圭一は自らに胸を張れる強い意志を持った人間として待ち受ける受験に力強く臨もうとしています。
圭一の罪がないわけね。だから引っ越しもしない。
竜宮レナも両親の会社が潰れませんから茨城への引っ越しをしませんでした。だから離婚も起きない。だからそれを理由にレナが罪を感じることもない。
Rena had no sin either.
園崎ミオンと園崎シオンは背中に入れ墨を入れる儀式の日入れ替わりをし
Ooh,
ません
so
で
that's
し
Shion that's there. Oh.
なるほど。学校のミオンが
Ah, that's why she's a jackass.
ボードゲームが大好きなはずなのに妹が詳しいなんて言い方をしてたし。なるほど、納得。
た。だからミオンは当主跡継ぎの座を妹に押し付けることにならず当主の修行をしながら日々を過ごしています。そしてシオンも本家の邪魔にならず影から支えられるよう遠方の学園で一人今日も努力して頑張っています。
あの姉妹はかつて入れ墨の入れ替わりで互いに罪を感じ合っていた。それがないってことは
Mion and Shion had no
もう
sin.
これ以上話す必要もないでしょうが北条聡子にも親殺しの罪がありません。聡子は義理の父との交流を深め家族仲を再構築しました。そのため悪い病気に取りつかれることもなかった。
北条家も村と敵対せず、だからいや聡子たち一家にとってここは理想の世界ということね。
Satoko and her family. Wait, no, isn't this the ideal world for everybody? Keiichi came to Hinazawa because he had committed a sin. But in this world he didn't, and was right now living his very best. Rena avoided her sad fate too and never sinned. She called herself by her real given name, Reina, and was living happily. Mion and Shion were leading happy lives too. Without the tattoo incident, they were friendly sisters the way they've been born. They were forced to live apart due to family matters, but that wouldn't be enough to tear them apart. For Satoko, this world was exactly the world of her dreams. Surrounded by the warmth of her family and big brother, she was leading a bright and healthy life. This is the world that I, as her friend, should be wishing for the most. For Satoshi, well, this was the only world in which he still existed. In all the worlds I'd been to, this was the only one where he was alive. Satoshi couldn't exist anywhere but here. And Rika Furude. For Rika, this world was. Maybe I had zero friends. Compared to my old world, that was very sad. But I could change that now through time and effort. Maybe I was sad Keiichi wasn't here. But Keiichi was living a resolute life in the place he originally lived. Instead, I asked Satoshi. He wasn't the same as Keiichi, but he was very kind and considerate. Even the club I was disappointed didn't exist could start the very next day if I wanted it to. With the Hojo siblings, Mio and Rena and me, and maybe my other classmates too. What would the club be like with so many people? I didn't think I'd be able to compare it to the fun we had with Keiichi and the rest. I knew I wouldn't be able to place one over the other. My parents were in this world, and I had already learned how to interact with them as Rika Furude, who had regained the love of her family. My parents weren't in the previous world, but I had lively roommates that wouldn't leave me feeling lonely, Satoko and Hanyu. If I chose this world, I'd have to say goodbye to Hanyu, the friend I'd spent 100 years with. Friend? No. What Hanyu said was true, that she was my ancestor and a mother to me, which meant she was on the exact same level as my father and mother. She was my family. My parents and Hanyu were both very important to me. I couldn't possibly weigh them against each other.
その世界は誰かの夢が作り出したあなたに関わる全ての人間に罪がない。それはとてもとても純粋で透き通った美しい世界なのです。その世界では私はすでに消え去っており、リカだから僕にも罪がない。そしてリカ、あなたも自らの人生を汚していないから。あの高野にすら罪がない。誰から誰まで真っ白な世界。
そうです。今のリカはその世界を選ぶことができます。これは僕にも預かり知れない運命のサイコロの神様が100年の旅の果てにくださった貴重な機会なのかもしれません。
もう少し慈悲深い与え方だったらよかったのにね。
ですからその神様は元の世界へ戻る道も与
Change
えて
title?
くれま
Nah,
した。
I'm too lazy.
母殺しという最大の罪を犯すことによってその罪なく楽園を自ら追放されることを選ぶことです。
ハニュ、あんたは娘に撃たれたって言ってたわ。私が自分の人生を選ぶために母殺しを繰り返すことを。
リカのお母さんならこう言うでしょう。娘が幸せになれるなら自分の命など欲しくないと。リカにはまだ分かりません。子を持ち母となった身にしか分からぬ気持ちです。かつて一度は母になったから分かる。もしリカが元の世界の方が幸せだったと言えるならリカのお母さんは喜んでその命を差し出すでしょう。
まさかあの人に限ってそんなこと言うわけないでしょ。頭は大丈夫って言われてヒステリックに叫ばれるだけよ。
But then I remember my mother's smile when we made curry together. Would it be so strange if such fearsome words came from her mouth?
僕は娘に撃たれたことを後悔していません。そのおかげで娘に引き継がれたかもしれない罪が払われたのです。私が命を惜しんでいたら娘もまた私と同じように迫害されていたかもしれないのですから。
でもあんたを撃った娘の気持ちを考えたことはある？死んだ方は気楽よね。勝手に献身美徳によって成仏できる。でもね、殺した方はその十字架を背負ってずっと生きていくのよ。あんたさっき言わなかった？あんたを撃った娘があんたのために助け合いの心の宿るひなみ沢を作ると誓ったって。そして1000年かけてあんたの娘たちはあんたの罪に付き合ったのよ。あんたは死ぬべきじゃなかったんじゃない？何の罪を背負わされたのか知らないけど生きて戦うべきだった。子孫が罪を背負わずに済むように戦うべきだった。なのにあんたが屈したから1000年もの間あんたの子孫たちがあんたの十字架を背負い続けた。そうじゃないの？
Hanyu was silent. That, without a doubt, was Hanyu's sin. It was easy to die for her daughter's sake, but her daughter's guilt would never heal. But when Hanyu answered, she remained undaunted.
ならリカ、私は生きて戦うべきだったというリカ、あなたはその世界にいる今どうするというのですか。その世界にいるという現実を受け入れ、元の世界と異なるいくつかの違和感と戦いながらその世界で生きることを望みますか。100年の果てに掴んだ手垢と汗にまみれた、それでもなお美しいあの世界を見捨てて。
She was right. Maybe this world was beautiful, but that didn't mean the way my old world shone wasn't beautiful too. Why wouldn't it be? We'd won that fate after such a long journey.
そしてあなたは100年の末に掴んだあの世界を元の世界と今なお呼ぶなら、この世界の居心地がどんなに良くてもそれを全て投げ捨ててこの世界にとどまりたい気持ちを打ち払って戦ってでも元の世界へ帰るべきなのではないですか。あなたに関わる人々が罪から解放されたこの世界を打ち壊してでも。
My daughter who tells me to fight, you too should fight. To fight is not to defeat and overcome the obstacles before you. In the end, that is no more than a simple detour on the straight path before you. To truly fight is to make your own decisions, or choices. At every choice in life, at every crossroads, people hesitate. Having one choice brightly illuminated and then selecting it, such a predetermined choice is not a fight. When no matter how many times you are presented with the choice, you choose the same one. It's inevitability. A real choice is when you truly think and worry, when you never know which you should choose. It is precisely the same as the choice between the red box and the blue box you spoke of once before. Will you choose the red box or the blue? To choose without guidance demands incredible courage and determination. That is a true choice. If you knew what was in the boxes, it would no longer be a choice. It is because you do not know what is inside that you can be satisfied with what is in the box you choose. If you knew the contents of the other, it could lead to despair. Before being left at a crossroads with no guidance and no hints, it is what it means to live. You may lazily continue to choose the right or knock over the sign and choose at random. You may also search carefully for hints, worrying over how beneficial the left or right would be, and remain at the crossroads forever. Thus, you would be able to accept the final result awaiting you as your own responsibility, would you not? You would not grow old and go into your coffin wanting advice from your parents, would you? Worry, choose, and go forward. That is the fight. I earnestly worried and chose my own life. My daughters earnestly worried and chose their own lives. For each and every one of us, that is sacred. It is precious. The descendant 1,000 years later must not sully that. All who lived in that age were always beautiful. You must not speak of their lives using the values of later generations.
最後にとても重要なことを話しますです。リカと僕をつなぐそのカモの御事のりの力は、もうじきその力を永遠に失います。僕がその世界に干渉することは永遠にありません。
あんたにありがたい説教をもらうのも今夜限りってわけね。
それからもう一つ、リカのお母さんに現れたかけらは明日の日没と同時にその力を永遠に失います。
She's got a day.
失うのは消えるリカの手でかけらを取り戻せる機会が永遠に失われるという意味です。
つまり明日の夕方までに決断しなくちゃ元の世界に戻るという選択肢もなくなるってことね。選択を保留するという第三の選択肢はないってことか。
いいえ、選択を逃げ最後の時間にわざと目をつむり消極的にその世界にとどまる道を選ぶこともできます。その場合は積極的に選んだ場合と違った生き方になるでしょうが。
Whether or not I chose proactively was also whether or not I would accept this world. If I continued to live here without accepting it, I would drag along all the distress that I currently held forever. Compared to that, maybe it would be a lot better just to choose one or the other. But even that wasn't easy. Hanyu had said that very distress itself was the battle.
さあリカ、戦いなさい。その戦いは明日の日没まで続く。でもどうか逃げないで。なぜならどちらの世界を決断したとしても、その世界は必ず素晴らしいものだから。あの100年を戦い抜き得た世界が素晴らしかったように、戦い抜いて選んだ世界は必ず素晴らしくなる。だからリカ、決して戦わぬことで片方を選ばぬように。悩まぬ選択肢の結果に人間が満足することは絶対にないのだから。
ありがとう羽生。私戦ってみるわ。この選択と、もしあなたと再会できるなら、もしこの世界だったなら、ゆっくりと休んで1000年の疲れを癒して。今日までありがとう。本当にありがとう。私あなたの力のおかげで自分の人生を何度でもやり直せるものだと勘違いしてきた。そんな私じゃきっと元の世界に生きてもどっかでおかしくなったと思う。
And none of this would have happened if you just didn't fucking drive into the or ride your bike into the fucking road, Rika.
何かにちょっとでもつまずいたらやり直せばいいやって簡単に考えたと思う。そんなんじゃ素晴らしい世界になんてなるわけないよね。その意味ではあなたがこの力を私に使わなければよかったという罪も、でもそれは軽い人生を歩んできたあまたの世界でサイコロを振り直すと称して、この世界はそんな私に人生の重さを教えてくれたんだと思う。その末がどっちに転んでも素敵な世界だなんて、私は多分あまたの世界で一番幸運な人間に違いないわ。ありがとう羽生。こんなバカで身の程知らずの私に最後の最後まで温かな言葉をかけてくれて。私一生懸命悩むよ。いっぱいいっぱい悩んで、本当に本当に素敵な世界をつかみ取るから。だからありがとう羽生。ねえ返事。
Crystal ball was now quiet and cold in my hands and gave off only a dull reflection of the flashlight that illuminated me. I shed all the tears I could. I thought if I didn't, I would hesitate when it came time to choose. So I cried out everything I had and thanked her for our 100-year relationship. Because depending on my choice, I might never get to say those words again. Then I replaced the crystal ball on the altar where it was now just a marble, slipped out of the storehouse and crawled back into bed. There was no way I was going to sleep. At least that was what I thought until I wrapped myself in linens, felt the cool wind on my bare feet and drifted off to sleep without realizing it. Oh boy. Rika Furude was going to sleep. I was going to sleep. Good night, everyone. Good night, me. Hi, Dodi. And the sun rose again on another wonderful day for Rika Furude. For us to finish off tomorrow? Yes, sir. And listen, this is a perfect spot because this is the final day of Higurashi. Oh, buddy. Yes, sir. stupid head. Look at it smacking his lips because it's lunch, dinner time. Huh? All right. Well, chat, that's... All right. Well, he slipped. All right. Well, chat, that's gonna do it for us today. Yes, sir. Let's feed the duckies. Get this fucking Steam alert out of my goddamn... Stop crying, Tori. I'm gonna fucking feed you. Shut up. He's wagging his tail. No. All right, chat. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Thank you guys for hanging out. Good night, everybody. Bye.